it's me, Nanaya. Nanaya Adu, and welcome to the Much Ado About Nothing podcast. Um, in terms of the vibe this episode, I think it's gonna be more improv, more relaxed, more chill. So if you haven't listened to the most recent episode, go ahead and do that. Go ahead, add it to the schedule. But let's start with an introduction for anyone who's new here. My name's Nalaya. I'm an East London-based writer, poet. Yeah, I graduated from uni last summer, and I just be out here. So starting a podcast is something I always wanted to do. And last autumn, I took the leap. I dove right in, and I started a podcast. In terms of the main purpose of this podcast, it's essentially a way for me to rant, express my disapproval of things. Yeah, but not really. It's a way for me to critique things, but so in terms of what types of things, it usually ranges from like the more political, international politics or national politics, or like things just happening on social media, or like ideas surrounding representation or women in society, expectations, or just how the government's failing us. So if that's something you're into, stick around, stick around. Yeah, follow the pod account on Instagram, TikTok. Um, and yeah, keep up to date with what's going on with the pod. But yeah, so yeah, welcome. It's actually funny, but what I initially wanted to talk about was Love is Blind. I'm sorry, I feel so basic right now. Because I know you must be seeing all the Love is Blind posts on YouTube, all the videos, all the think pieces. But yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm basic. Maybe I'm basic. But what's so wrong with that? I love Love is Blind. I think I've pretty much seen every season of the American Love is Blind since like it dropped. That season one was so delicious, so beautiful, so romantic, so wonderful. But it wasn't lacking in the drama either. But like it felt like, yeah, happy ever after. Yeah, maybe Love is Blind. But this season, that's a conversation for a different day. So usually the format is I find a comment in the social media comment section, I bring it here and we discuss, we dive in, we go in. I do a little tappy tap, do some research, get some data. That's the American way. I think I wanted to say stats and I just kind of bleep. Just was like brain freeze or something. Anyway, yeah, usually tappy tap, get some stats or get some data, get some information, get some research, and then I talk, and then I yap, and then I just let it all out. But yeah, today I'm gonna do something different. This is gonna be pretty much off the dome, and yeah, I hope you like it. I mean, let's see what emerges in this space. But the thing I want to talk about is, I guess I honestly just put some words down on my notes app, and these are the words: authenticity, creatives, personal brands on the internet. Yeah. So I guess you would say those are the talking points, but they're not even really fleshed out ideas. But it's funny because, well, it's not funny. It's actually quite unsurprising. I've been watching videos which explore similar topics and themes and individuals' experiences of those things. So it's not really surprising that I'm inspired to talk about it and share my perspective on it. But I feel like I was led to watch people talk about it because I feel like it's questions and thoughts that I was thinking and processing. And then after that, I feel even more um, pushed or encouraged or justified in exploring the topics and themes like on my own on the podcast. But yeah, in terms of what's going on in my life, so just about this week I just finished um I guess some on work on what? How do I put this? Okay, so essentially I worked um on bringing a poem I wrote maybe a year or so ago. Basically, I've um transformed it into a short poetry film, which is really cool. I feel uncomfortable saying I because it's not really an I thing, it's more a we, the people who've supported me. So gonna give a cheeky shout out to Kofi Ade and Simi, who's a incredible director, and Kofi, who's an amazing video editor. So if you are looking for someone to support you with your creative projects, I will leave their Instagram accounts linked in the description. But yeah, you'll probably, well, I feel like it probably makes more sense to show the piece and then you're like, oh, I love it. And then you want to reach out to them. But I hope you trust me enough and you trust my taste to be curious about checking them out and reaching out to them to help you create whatever you seek to create. But yes, essentially, I feel like the transformation of the piece into a film has reached that point where it's like like it's almost complete. Like it's like it was a thought, it was an idea, and now it's like this thing, this tangible digital piece of work which exists and has inputs from different creative people and minds. And it's just, I don't know, it's beautiful. First of all, it's beautiful. If you know that kid who used to play all the really sad roles, that British actor who used to play the one who played Charlie in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, not the first original one, like the second one, the one before the abomination that is Wonka. No offense, Timmy. Sorry, Timmy, but it's just not the vibe. What even is Wonka? Anyway, before I lose my trail of thought, yeah, the second one, that little kid who plays Charlie, yeah, with a little British voice, like he's like, it's beautiful. It's like, do you remember the bit where he gets the ticket, the golden ticket, and he's like, it doesn't matter. I just want to help my family. You know, that vibe. Anyway, sorry. Me and my partner we do the it's beautiful voice like too often. It's kind of just amazing though, because he really just managed to encapsulate this really niche vibe, this really niche British poor child in the city, and I don't know, in the chimneys. Help! I need food. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, this is so random if you have absolutely zero clue who I'm talking about. I might just have to, I don't know, link something in there just so you know I'm not making this up and I'm not just being extremely weird. But not saying that I'm not being extremely weird. Maybe I am. I'm not wrong with that. But funnily enough, that pretty much ties in perfectly into what I want to discuss: authenticity. So, oh my god, yes. You know Addison Rae? She's the one who sang the song. Well, first of all, I think her primary claim to fame is like being a TikTok influencer. But like, obviously, there was this point where there was like a transition from liking TikTok influencers to just absolutely just dogpiling on them and being like, you have no talent, how are you really there, blah blah blah, you don't deserve this, you don't deserve to be invited to the Met Gala, la la la, die, or whatever, I don't know. But yeah, after that transition, I feel like she really just went under the radar. I really wasn't someone who was like, at the very beginning of TikTok, I was on TikTok and I was engaging with TikTok content, and then I just really dipped and I was like aware of it remotely through Reels. Yeah, I'm the annoying person who catches on to trends and funny jokes 2 months later because I was getting my meme nutrition through Instagram. Sue me, sue me. But yeah, that was me. Anyway, yeah, so she went off the radar and then she just this year reemerged with a banger. She reemerged with the biggest banger to bang. And that song, oh, the banger is a song, by the way. But yeah, the song is Diet Pepsi, and I'm obsessed. Say you love, say you love me. Diet Pepsi. I'm really butchering the song. It's really good. It's giving. Not me sounding like someone's mum. It's giving Lana Del Rey esque vibes in the best way. The only other lyrics really kind of, I wouldn't say silly, but they're poetic and poetic in that it doesn't really completely make sense, but it does. Some bits don't, but some bits do. And it's really playful. It's romantic. It's like some bits are like words for imagery's sake. It's not like trying to tell you something or tell you what to feel. It's like it says this and it's like a shot and a scene. It's like, oh, I don't know, Diet Pepsi. Oh, do you get what I mean? Like on a hot day or something, and you're like, oh, cool, nice fizzy drink on a hot day. Like I don't know. I guess it's quite evocative. I don't know. I think it's interesting songwriting, interesting writing. Period. Especially when I feel like we're bang in the middle of this weird moment where musicians and a lot of writers in general tell you what you should be feeling instead of showing you, which is a feature of good, excellent, delicious, yummy writing. So, yeah, I feel like she's not telling you what she feels, but I also could be just yapping, which I that's essentially what I am. I am yapping, and this is my opinion, and I am not in any way an authority on this. I just like to make things sound deep. That's my hobby. Okay. Okay, but yeah, how did I even get there? Yes. So she came out with a new song called Aquamarine, which is as good as Diet Pepsi. I honestly didn't think do you know what? When I heard Diet Pepsi, I was like, oh, she better bring out another banger, because if the next song is not it, everyone's gonna be like, oh, one hit wonder, or like, oh, she thought she ate. Oh, you know what I mean? It's like when you challenge people's perception of you, if you're not able to keep it up, they just revert to their original perception of you, and they start shaming you and degrading you, and basically crawl back into that place where they're able to talk about you in a really disparaging way because they wanted to anyway. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, if she doesn't come out with something great, that's what's going to happen. But she proved all of us wrong, and thank God, because that song Aquamarine, if you want to listen to it, go check it out. I love it. I just love how it feels. It feels so, I don't know if it's correct to say, but European. Like it just feels like dancing in a random little disco or something in like an alleyway in like somewhere in the south of someone in the Mediterranean, and you're dancing with a bunch of girls you just met who are really lovely, and you're all smiling and a bit tipsy, or in the words of Madame Joyce from Cocktails and Takeaway, you're a bit licky licky, and you're just dancing, and you're just like happy. Your hair's flowing in the air. It's like a tad humid, or there's like a wetness. There's a warm wetness on your skin, but you can feel the breeze coming in, just like the breath of God touching you in that moment. You're like, in this moment, all the sadness I've experienced is gone. I am starting from ground zero. I am alive and I'm happy, and I feel so blessed to be alive. I'm dancing and I'm alive, and I'm in love with this moment and this place and the people I'm surrounded by. But anyway, I am gassing up this song. If you guys hate it, don't come for me. But I really like the song. But you see how I'm not being very demure in how I'm describing and talking about the song. That's how passionate about. That's how visceral the feeling of being in love with this song was. And because of that, I I tried to channel the kind of feeling that I thought would kind of mirror the vibe and feel of the song, and I decided to do what 12-year-old me or 10-year-old me would do, which is whip out my camera and start doing some performance art type cringy stuff. And I posted it, and I felt so exposed because in lots of conversations I have with people, I'm always like, oh, I wish the internet was the way it was before, where people are just having fun and doesn't care, like, who cares about your personal brand, who cares about having an aesthetic feed where everything matches and there's like a clear vibe, like, who cares? I just want to go back, because in terms of my personality, I think I'm very silly. Like, I like silly jokes, I like silly humor. Like, I can be deep and serious, whether it's like talking about mental health and how to take care of yourself, or talking about books and literature and film, or like talking about God and my relationship with God. And it's like, I'm a multifaceted, multidimensional person. I can be serious and deep and, I don't know, silent and, like, I don't know, low key, like moving in silence. I can do that. That's a bit of me. But I'm also like really like random and like, this girl is silly, like silly goose. But I can also be like emotional. But I guess the most relevant part is I can also be super cringe. And I'm not gonna lie, cringe media, cringe content, cringe memes, cringe jokes just tickle an itch in my brain and I can't explain it. Like, it just does something. I love it. I love it. So anyway, you would say the video I posted up was a bit cringe or weird, or in my partner's words, seems like you're going through something. Fair enough. I am going through something. There's a lot of transitions happening in life. It's autumn. The sun's setting earlier. It's getting super dark. It's cold. I'm in the middle of, I guess, a career move. It's like I'm in the in between. I'm in limbo. And one thing about limbo is, obviously, it's kind of in the word, but you just feel untethered. You feel like, ooh, the wind's blowing me here and there, and I'm just trying to be grounded, grounded. But yeah, I guess I am going through things, but it's not like bad things. It just feels like a transition period. And I feel like anyone who is in a transition period can relate. It's like everyone's like, how are you? And it's like, I'm okay. Like, I seem sad. I might be going on monologues, which can be a bit concerning, and you're like, is everything okay, girl? But the thing is, girl is okay. Girl is just in an in between state. So you're not gonna get a complete picture, a complete nice cookie cutter answer like, oh, stuff is good or stuff is bad. Because that's not what is true. It's genuinely an in between. But anyway, I put that video up and I felt so exposed. I felt so uncomfortable. And I was like, oh my God, I should take it down. And then another side of me was like, don't you dare take it down. You literally keep going on about how you love when people are like unapologetically cringe on the internet. People who just don't care about seeming a certain way and seeming all prep and pretty and perfect and wise, or just like, or respectable. This sounds so dumb, but like, when you think of the respectable individual and people whose content feels respectable, it's like, I like people who are not respectable. Like, I like people who like make us feel a bit uncomfortable. In fact, I love films, I love media, and I love books that make me feel uncomfortable, that remind me that I'm human. And a big part of humanity is the unpredictability, the inability to be really and truly put in a box. That's what I love. And it sucks that Instagram and other, I don't know if this is the same with TikTok, but I know for Instagram specifically, it feels like we've reached a point where if you don't willingly squeeze yourself into a box, now for you. And if you don't allow yourself to be squeezed in a box, now for you. Like, it's like you get celebrated and validated when you consent to being put in a box, whether it's like choosing to do only comedy content or choosing to do only fashion content. And I feel like we saw that almost not dilemma, but like that inner conflict. We've seen that kind of play out to like a grand scale when we've seen um how the conversation surrounding calling for a ceasefire and denouncing the genocide in Gaza has resulted in people having to essentially confront that push and pull within themselves, but on like in a public way, because it's like, this is a public thing and we're all seeing this. So it's like, you might be having those questions, but people want to know, where do you stand, where do you lie? Are you so committed to curating this image, this perfect cookie cutter image where you refuse to engage with or acknowledge on like a public scale the reality of what's going on in the world. But yeah, so yeah, it just made me feel really uncomfortable, made me feel vulnerable. Sorry if my sound gets a bit weird because my sound literally just cut at some point. But yeah, um, yeah, putting the post up made me feel uncomfortable, made me feel vulnerable, and but the thing is, I also didn't want to take it down because I'm like, no, this feels wrong. It feels like I'm betraying a part of myself. It feels like I'm turning my back on my inner child. It feels like I'm succumbing to the system and society and societal expectations. And I don't want to do that because I feel like so much of who I am and how I approach my writing and just showing up in the world is being authentic, um, embracing the discomfort, um, walking into the discomfort, being in it, sitting in it, embracing it, based on like what the value and importance of it is, obviously. So yeah, but also guess what? My ego was bruised, my ego was smashed, my ego was shattered. Because I was like, I'm a creative. The people who follow me know I'm a creative. They, if you know me from secondary school, probably know I'm a bit quirky anyway, or just a bit. Mm, I was just a bit funky. I'm just gonna say a bit funky, and I feel like I was a bit funky in sixth form as well. Um, Now that I think of it, do you know what's funny? I'm my perception of how others perceive me is, oh, they think I'm so like weird and different. But imagine people are like, oh, you didn't actually give off that vibe. You didn't even give off quirky. You pretty much gave simple. That would be funny. The thing is, that's just life, and sometimes we just have a really extreme perception of how people perceive us. But anyway, I was like, anyway. The reason my ego is bruised is because it didn't get that many likes. I know. I don't even think about likes. And the thing is, I'm not someone whose account has that many likes. I'd be getting like 20 likes and stuff on my personal stuff by like my actual friends. So it's like, it's not even like I'm trying to be getting 100. I don't know. I have like 300-ish followers. Most people who I actually know and are friends or people I've met along the way, whether it's in like creative spaces, open mic spaces, or just throughout school and stuff. So it's like people who know me. And yeah, I get likes from my close friends or just people who like we support each other from afar. Like we're not friends, but it's like I love what you create and they're like I love what you create too. And it's just like mutual love. But yeah, I got a few likes and it really battered my ego. But also it's like I didn't even post it for to be validated by likes, or at least that's not what I went into it thinking. I just thought people were gonna really like and appreciate this really raw, edgy, and a bit weird expression of myself to a song that obviously I liked and I felt like seemed to mirror the energy of what I was trying to do by being my weird self and being quite explorative with what I could do, I guess, with my phone and my face and makeup or whatever. But yeah, it made me so uncomfortable. And I was like, oh, maybe I should take the video down. And I was like, no, don't take the video down. Now, like, maybe people don't really know me, and if the people who follow me can't appreciate or acknowledge or celebrate or just I don't know, that it really takes a second to give a like. If it's like they don't want to like this post because maybe they find it weird or they think I'm a weirdo or something, it's like take all your posts down. Like it's like take all your posts down. No one gets to have a piece of your pie, any of the pie. But then it's like I don't want to because I was looking through my posts from like years ago and I was reading quotes from books that I enjoyed and my thoughts and the thoughts I left in the captions, and I was like, oh, I was such a cutie pie. In some ways, I still am a bit of a cutie pie, but I was reading the captions. I'm like, you're such a cutie pie, having all these thoughts and things, and it's like, it's also funny to think and remember. It's like, oh, I was 20 there, oh, I was 19 there. It's like, oh, it's like you're a little baby navigating life, and you're having these thoughts and being so positive and optimistic and wise. And I don't even feel like it's like I feel older, but I feel probably less wise than I've ever felt. And it reminds me of that Mitski song where she's like, I was so young when I behaved 25, but now that I'm older, I've turned into a tall child. I feel like more of a child than I've ever felt in my life, honestly. And maybe that post I put up was just an attempt to honor that feeling that I was feeling and embrace the childlike naivete or naivety. I feel like I always see the word naivete, maybe in like books or something. Is it the same as naivety? And why do people say naivete? Or is naivety not a word? Because if it's that naivete is actually just a fancy way of saying it to sound fancy, that'd be funny. If they're like, it's not like one of those words that's like a borrowed French word into English that has an English equivalent that has none of the French sounds or anything or spellings. I don't know. This is, oh, losing my trail of thought again. Guys, this is how it feels like to be in my brain. It's the wild, wild west out here. But, trail of thought. Trail of thought. Come back to me. Yeah, so I was like, basically, it made me think, am I trying to grasp at this childhood, I don't know, carefreeness through this video? And I think to some degree I really was. And maybe that's why that sense of rejection even stung so hard. I was like, maybe I should literally delete everything on my account. But I took a break from the internet, as I really should more frequently. And I think I'm just coming to terms with it. It doesn't really help that I went to like an event recently and I met new people and we were exchanging Instagrams, and I was like, oh god, the first video or whatever these people are gonna see is me being weird. And I was like, but that's you. And they spoke to you and they liked you and they wanted to stay in touch with you just as much you wanted to stay in touch with them. And if their response to seeing a different expression of yourself is ill, that's a poor perception, but that's on them. That's a negative trait or quality or way to think about people and how they express themselves. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just maybe it doesn't match the vibe, but it's okay. And then even beyond that, it's like, why do you care? Why do you care what these people think about you? They literally know almost nothing about you. They know like the tiniest fraction about who you are, but you know who you are and you know why you act the way you are, think the way you are, do what you do. You know how your mind works. You know what your life story's like. You know why it's important and kind of radical to re engage with this part of yourself. So, why do you care? And so, basically, I took my little mic, I sat down, and I'm here to tell you that why should you care? Like, I'm here to like urge you to embrace the parts of yourselves that don't fit neatly into a box that it would be easy to fit in. And the thing is, I feel like with Instagram and social media, it's like even with the people who are like cringy and quirky and whose personalities online rests on that, it's like they struggle to also express and show the deep part of themselves, because people for some reason really struggle to make room for both, even though we all know that there's so many layers to ourselves. So it's like, why can't we respond to people like that? But it's just something about the app, man. It's something about the app that you just can't. It's so one dimensional, two dimensional, whatever the word is, but it's just not set up that way. And I think to some degree that's probably why I love YouTube. I've been on the YouTube roll. Like when I did my super mini break from Instagram, I was on YouTube. So I should probably check my relationship with that, because that's also a bit much. Ideally, we should all be spending a lot of time with ourselves in silence, with God in silence, present in the moment, not just soaking up people's thoughts and ideas on a constant stream. But yeah, I like YouTube for that reason, because if that's one thing about YouTube, just because of the way it's set out, I don't really care what people posted before or the year before. I really just take people as they are. If today they're like talking about flipping My Little Pony and why this character is on the autism spectrum, I listen because I'm like, that's really interesting. Talk to me. Like, I got the time. It's like if someone today just shows up and they're like, let's talk about how the SpongeBob conspiracy theory, like what's in the what's the word? Krabby Patty, because obviously you don't have cows under there. Talk to me. What is in that patty? And then if the next day they want to talk about how the UN a resolution was blocked by someone in the UN Security Council, I'm here. Tell me about how these international organizations continue to fail us, and tell me about how futile and almost useless their existence is in the modern current world. Tell me, explain to me. I'm all ears. Because the thing is, as much as I'm interested in the ideas and specific subjects that they are expressing, I'm not alone in having an inherent interest, not only in what is being said, but who is saying it. Like, honestly, the truth is, for most, maybe this might be my experience, but think about it. The people you choose to listen to and watch on YouTube aren't always, they're not like, it's not solely a case of I want to learn more about this topic, so I searched it up. It's sometimes like, I want to know what you have to say about this topic. So it's like what you, based on your experiences, your perspective, what you have to say. It's like, oh, you make music? I'm not even really into the genre, but I want to hear what you said you've spent 6 months creating, because I'm curious about you. And I feel like Instagram kind of doesn't do a good job with encouraging that. So this sounds like I'm doing promo for YouTube, man. I should turn it down a bit. This is not sponsored. This is not sponsored by YouTube. But yeah, basically, yay to authenticity, no to trying to fit yourself in a box to get your ego stroked, because it's a never-ending never-ending cycle. It's a never-ending cycle. You'll never feel full. You never feel truly seen, and you're gonna feel isolated from your true self because you're gonna keep trying to create this front, which is not you, which is getting validation. You're just gonna feel, yeah, you're gonna feel even lonelier than if you showed your true self and people were like, nah, not for me. Because at least you're being yourself, and the people who choose to stick around actually genuinely are into the pie that you're serving, the yumminess that you're serving. So do that. But yeah, the last thing I wanted to quickly talk about, linked to all of this, is like having all these like thoughts and, okay, basically the challenge of being able to be your full 3D self on the online space, in the online world, when you're someone who is a creative for profession, or whether it's like your side job or your hobby, whatever. It's like, how do you toe the line of making your art work for you, pay your bills, while also not basically taking choices, artistic choices, and I don't know, social media choices which limit how you express yourself, how you present yourself, and how you engage with the different versions and layers of who you are. I don't really have an answer to the question, because honestly, most times it feels like the answer is leave social media. But social media is so deeply entrenched in how we do life now. Like, can you believe that having a personal brand is something that is not just something that you can choose to do, but it's almost like you have to do it? And I'm not only thinking in terms of the creative world, like even in the corporate world, it's like personal brand this, personal brand that. It's like personal brand this. And it's like, oh, I'm delighted to announce that I don't know, those announcements on LinkedIn, but it's not just those I'm delighted to announce posts anymore. Like, everyone's a thought leader somehow. Everyone's writing a think piece. By the way, I'm part of everyone. Just to let you know, I am not, when I be talking about stuff like this, I'm not trying to look down on anyone else, because I'm very much part of the general population in this. So it's like, how can I really be myself? It's like I just have to erase and rub out different parts of myself. And it's like, I want to be a creative, but I don't want to be online. And it's like, in order to reach a point where you can afford to not be online, you have to be online. Not everyone can do the Frank Ocean type thing and drop music and disappear for, I don't know, however long he's been gone. Like, we're not in that world anymore. It feels like that time is over. And I'm not saying it's like impossible. Someone somewhere is probably doing it and doing it super successfully. But it's also like, how do you do that super successfully unless you maybe already have the connections and links within whatever field you're working in to be able to influence and get into rooms without having to um, basically sell yourself and promote yourself on social media, basically. Because at the end of the day, social media is like has democratized how we engage with art and how people and artists in whatever capacity can get into certain spaces. But the reason it's a big deal and it's like a pro and its existence is good is because without it, some people just would not get certain opportunities, period, because they simply just couldn't, because they wouldn't know who to speak to. Whoever they need to speak to wouldn't be interested in them, or it might simply be a case of you're in this country and whatever industry you want to get in is thriving in this other country. So it's like, how do you bridge that gap? It's all really frustrating and it hurts my noggin. It hurts my noggin. But this was a very different podcast episode vibe. If this is your first time listening to this, it usually isn't like this. So if you're like, this is not my cup of tea, why not check out the previous episode if that's more your thing. Also, check me out, literally, I don't know, diminishing this expression of myself when I just did a whole little monologue about how you shouldn't care what people think, and you get to see humanity. We yap, we critique, and we do the same thing all over again. But anyway, if you enjoy this episode, leave a rating. It would mean a lot to me. If you want to stay in contact, follow the pod on Instagram and TikTok, and yeah, leave a rating, share the podcast, the episode with friends and family, and start having these conversations. Yeah, if you're interested in having or joining the conversation, why not DM me and let's see if we can make it happen. I've never had another person on the pod. It's not something I have ever embraced as an idea or a possibility, but it is a possibility. Like everything, like the world is my oyster, and that's a cheeky reference to the Aquamarine song I told you to listen to. So if you didn't make a note of it, this is your reminder. Because there's a line where she's like, "The world is my oyster, baby, come touch the pearl." Love it. I love it. I'm sorry, I'm gonna listen to it now. Anyway, thanks for joining me and sending you lots of love. Bye bye.